Now that we have understood the overall paper pattern, let's dive deeper into Section A, Comprehension. In this lesson, we are going to understand exactly what the examiner is looking for and how you should attempt the comprehension questions to achieve the best possible marks. Let's begin with question 1, which is the comprehension task. Now, let's see what your syllabus says about this question. According to Cambridge, you will answer a series of short questions based on text A, which is a narrative passage. These questions test your understanding of both explicit and implicit meanings. The passage is approximately 900 words long and is taken from either the 20th or the 21st century. This question assesses two important reading skills. The first is your ability to understand explicit meanings, which are ideas that are directly stated in the passage. The second is your ability to understand implicit meanings and attitudes, where you have to work out ideas, feelings, and opinions that are suggested rather than directly written. So, basically, this question is not simply asking whether you can read the passage. It is testing whether you can understand both what the writer says directly and what the writer wants you to understand indirectly by reading between the lines. Now let's go through the steps you should follow when attempting the comprehension task. The first thing you should do is read the entire passage carefully from beginning to end. Don't rush straight to the questions. First, understand the overall story, the setting, the characters, and what is happening. Next, read every question carefully. As you read, underline the important command words such as what, why, how, explain, suggest, or identify. These command words tell you exactly what the examiner wants you to do. After that, ask yourself what type of question you are dealing with. Is it testing explicit meaning, implicit meaning, or the writer's use of language? Once you identify the question type, you already know the approach you need to take. If the question gives you a paragraph number or line reference, underline it immediately. This saves time because you know exactly where to look in the passage. Now read the passage again, but this time much more carefully. As you read, underline important events, emotions, descriptions, and key ideas that might help you answer the questions. Always keep the questions in your mind while reading. This helps you recognize important information much more quickly instead of reading the passage again and again. When answering a question, go directly to the correct paragraph or the lines mentioned. Read that section carefully and identify only the information that answers the question. One very important rule is never copy large sections directly from the passage, especially if the question asks you to answer in your own words. Cambridge rewards candidates who show clear understanding rather than those who simply copy sentences from the text. Remember that the best answers are clear, accurate, and concise. You do not receive extra marks for writing long answers. Instead, focus on giving exactly the information the examiner is asking for. Another very important thing to remember is the mark allocation. Always look at the number of marks available before writing your answer. As a general rule, 1 mark usually requires 1 separate point, 2 marks require 2 separate points, and 3 marks require 3 separate points. So, always match the number of points you write with the number of marks available. This simple habit can help you avoid losing easy marks. Now let's talk about explicit questions. An explicit question asks for information that is directly stated in the passage. The answer is already there. You simply have to find it. These questions usually begin with command words such as what, give, state, identify, list, or name. The easiest way to remember explicit questions is this. Explicit means find. Your job is to locate the exact sentence that contains the answer, select only the relevant information and write it clearly. When answering explicit questions, always find the correct sentence, include only the information needed, and make sure the number of points matches the number of marks available. At the same time, avoid common mistakes. Do not add unnecessary details. Do not copy entire paragraphs when only one sentence is needed. Also, do not change the wording unless the question specifically asks you to answer in your own words. Now let's move on to implicit questions. These are usually more challenging because the answer is not written directly in the passage. Instead, you have to read between the lines and work out what the writer is suggesting. Implicit questions often begin with words such as why, how, explain, suggest, what does this show? Or what does this tell us? A simple way to remember these questions is, implicit means think. Instead of searching for one sentence, think carefully about the character's feelings, attitudes, reasons, and motivations. Whenever you answer an implicit question, ask yourself 3 simple questions. What is the writer suggesting? What feeling or attitude is being implied? Why did the character behave in this way? Once you have worked out the hidden meaning, support your answer with evidence from the passage. A good implicit answer always has 2 parts. First, explain the inference or hidden idea. Then support it with evidence from the text. For example, if the passage says that the boy kept looking over his shoulder, you can infer that he was feeling anxious or frightened. The evidence is that he repeatedly looked behind him, which suggests he was worried about something. Remember, Cambridge is not only testing whether you can find information. It is testing whether you can think logically and explain your ideas using evidence from the passage. So, if you keep all of these strategies in mind and follow them every time you practice a comprehension passage, you will become much more confident when answering Section A. More importantly, these techniques will help you maximize your marks and give yourself the best chance of achieving full marks in the comprehension question.